hop on over to Facebook. And I will find out. Okay, it's live. Awesome. I'm pretty sure the audio is working. However, if you are watching and you can put a yes in the chat, if you can hear me, that would help me out a lot. That way I will know 100% that you can hear me. So just type yes in the chat if you can hear my voice. And welcome. So while I wait for audio verification from hopefully someone, this is a live Q&A about online. Oh, thank you, Marcia. Okay, great. This is a live Q&A about upcoming uplifted yoga teacher training. So exciting. So I'm actually in the process of finishing the first round of teacher training right now. It's still happening. And the second one is slated to go live, or for us all to do it as a group together this fall. So you guys have emailed me a bunch of questions, which I'm going to go through. I'm also going to go through the sign up page with you guys. And thank you so many of you who sent me such intelligent questions. So of course you can ask questions in the chat, and I'm looking at the chat box and I will be monitoring it. But I thought I'd start with the questions that I knew had got sent in, because I know a lot of you are, very seriously considering the training and just, have some answers, or, want some answers on some things. If you haven't checked out the training page, make sure to do that. And that's link is right above my head in the video. And that link is right now not open to the public. It's not public facing on my website. There's no real way to navigate to it on the website. It's just for uplifted folks for the next 2 weeks, because I really want anyone who's in the uplifted community to get those super, super early bird spots, which is like a $600 savings. So I'm just going to plow through the questions that I got emailed. Stop me or ask questions in the chat as we go. And give this video a like. First of all, if you're just excited about teacher training or you're an uplifted member, likes and hearts, you can give unlimited throughout the broadcast. So the first question was, how did you know, I think this is from Trisha. She said, Brett, how did you know you were ready for YTT? Any regrets or tips? So I'm going to answer questions that are kind of about yoga teacher training in general, about the program specifically, and then more detailed questions about payment plans, registration, certification, in-person study towards the end. So kind of going from general to specific. So how did I know I was ready for yoga teacher training? I was just obsessed with yoga and wanted to go deeper in any possible way I could. I loved yoga, and I think if you're in uplifted, you're probably in that same boat. So it wasn't really knowing I was ready in terms of achieving a certain milestone in my practice or being able to do a certain hard pose or anything like that. It was really just a deep yearning to know more and want to go deeper. And I had no intention of actually ever teaching yoga with the degree. I was just planning to do it to deepen my own personal practice. And most people watching this are uplifted members, but just in case somehow this is seen in the future, if you don't know me or know who I am, I teach yoga on YouTube to close to 100,000 subscribers. And my life before yoga is I had a full-time job. I worked in corporate America. At certain times I worked 2 jobs. And when I did my yoga teacher training, I was 100% working full-time. And I was doing it on nights and weekends. But I was passionate about yoga and I just wanted more. I had no intention of making it a career. And any regrets? My regrets are that I wish I had not been so busy when I was doing my training, so I could have bonded more with the other people in my group. And that's something I'm really encouraging the people who are in the YTT now to do. They're pretty bonded, but to really take advantage of chatting together through video chat and connecting with one another. They also host their own study group calls without me. It's very, very cool. But really just connecting with your classmates, whether they're local or virtual, because it's the quality of the people who are in this training and who I know will be next round is like really what sets it apart. It's like just the most incredible people who share the same values. And again, because the program is online, we have people who are in the military, who are in the Peace Corps. I mean, like people who typically can't do, like the weekend training at the studio, and they're just all such fascinating people. I've learned so much from them. So I regret not bonding more with my classmates when I did training, because I was very overwhelmed and I was working full time, and it was a lot to juggle. So that is a regret. And my other regret is I wish the whole thing had been videotaped so I could go back and watch the material again. That is one big benefit. There's pros and cons to online. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But a huge pro is that you can go back and watch all the professional content from me and Kristen and all my lectures, slideshows and PowerPoints. And then you can also go back and watch all the live calls that we have recorded together as a group, where we're looking at one another's poses and really dissecting things. And I often wish I had material. I still have my manual, but I wish I had more that I could go back and relive from my training. So I don't think being ready for YTT has anything to do with your, like being able to do handstand or anything like that. Either you're passionate and you want to learn more, and this is calling to you, or it's not. To me, it's pretty much that simple. Are there any requirements to join the program? Years of experience. I don't really like to talk about years of experience because, someone who's like a professional dancer who starts doing yoga is obviously going to be at a very different place than someone who's like never exercised in their life and started doing yoga. So I think having at least a solid year under your belt is pretty important. What I'm really looking for, and what I think matters the most, is having a strong personal practice, which if you're in Uplifted, you probably do. A strong at-home practice and having body awareness. That's what it's all about. So not being able to do the splits, but having the body awareness to be like, this is how far I want to go into my split, and stop, because this is the place where pain and sensation are kind of blurring. Right? So having that body awareness is the most important thing. I would say that is the big requirement. And body awareness is a learned skill, so if you don't feel super body aware right now, that's fine. We dive into that a lot in the training, but I just want you to have a strong personal practice. You are doing yoga at home on a regular basis, and you care about yoga deeply. The next question is, what style of yoga will be taught? Any prerequisites? So the prerequisite is you need to have a home practice. You need to be doing yoga currently in a studio or at home, but definitely you're stretching at home on your own. You love yoga. The style, so this is actually a way that this training is a little different from maybe some of the other trainings you'll look at, or other trainings in a studio. So a lot of trainings out there that are studio-based, or online too, they're very much a particular methodology of yoga. So you might see like an Anusara yoga teacher training, or it's very much in the Ashtanga style or lineage. And what's really unique about Uplifted is sort of just like the Uplifted membership. With the teacher training, we're really taking that there's no one-size-fits-all approach, and that all these different methods of yoga are beautiful and valuable and useful, but we're not adhering to just like one school of thought at all. This is yoga in the Vinyasa tradition, right? So this isn't a Kundalini yoga teacher training, although we do talk about Kundalini energy and things like that. But this is a Vinyasa-based training. So that means we're linking breath and movement, flowing through postures. So it's yoga in the Hatha yoga tradition, right? Hatha and Vinyasa are sort of the same general school of thought, descended from this idea of linking breath and movement together. And Donna, the bridge version is for people who already have a 200-hour yoga teacher training degree, who want to do the course to deepen their studies. And it's really cool because we have a ton of bridge people in the program, and it's great because they and the people who are in the current YTT play and feed off each other. And so you get to kind of go through the program with people who are already teaching, which is really cool. So the style is Vinyasa. However, we're not adhering to a specific teacher or lineage. Instead, we're picking and choosing from looking at a lot of different styles And I sort of have my own uplifted methodology that I present, which is a blend of styles and incorporates a lot of myofascial release principles and body reading techniques into the teaching methodology. And we are going to come out of it being able to teach a vinyasa yoga class. So a hatha class that's a little bit slower, or a vinyasa class that's a little more fast-paced and athletic. And then we also have modules on prenatal, yin, and restorative. Okay, any prerequisites? No, just that you love yoga, want to develop a connection with your body, and have a strong personal practice. Do we have to read the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali was another emailed question. Yes, you do. And there is an assigned book translation that we all read together. In addition, there is maybe 2 or 3 hours worth of lectures and PowerPoints of me going over all the sutras, because it's very overwhelming when you just first read the Yoga Sutras. And we also have tons of group discussions about them, way more than was in my training. So I love talking about yoga philosophy, so that's a huge, huge piece of it. The next question was, how long is the training? It's around 4 to 5 months. The beauty of online, as I said, is we are flexible. So if I sense that people need to slow down a little, we slow down. If it's like, oh my gosh, we need a review session or a study session or a study group, we set that up. So there is some flexibility, but it runs for about 4 to 5 months. And your final graduation is when you take the online exam and when you do your final practicum with me, either by sending a video or in person. And that's you teaching a sample class, basically. Okay, the next question, I think this was from Justin, and feel free to put questions in the chat, asked, what's the difference between 200-hour, 300-hour, and 500-hour teacher training? Is there anything after 500-hour? So everyone starts with doing a 200-hour training. That's sort of the foundation, and then you can go out there and teach. 300-hour is sort of like yoga graduate school for people who want to go even deeper after doing their 200-hour. Or you could just do a lot of continuing education, which is sort of like what the bridge people are doing who are in the program now. They have a 200-hour degree, but they want to go deeper, so they're doing the bridge program and getting continuing education credit for that. So 300 is a whole nother training, and together those add up for a 500-hour teaching credential, you could say. I actually, I'm going to eat my words because people are already now asking for me to do a 300-hour training, but I don't really recommend a 300-hour training, honestly. I think doing 200-hour is enough. After doing 200, you can teach and go out there, and people who are in the current YTT, some of them are already teaching, because I'm very pro action. I like getting people into action. A lot of times what happens is people have this dream of teaching or dream of changing careers, and they never make it happen because they're always afraid or they're too scared to get into action. So I'm super proud of the current YTT 200s, because like maybe half of them, I want to say, this isn't bridge people, yoga YTT people, are already teaching, either like in their neighborhood at like friends events, and some are actually already teaching in studios. So you really just need the 200-hour degree. And then, of course, going deeper in your studies is always great. However, especially for diversifying yourself and really trying to achieve a yoga career that's economically viable for you, I don't necessarily think 300-hour is the best next step. I think maybe, mixing something else in with the yoga, like nutrition or acupuncture or Ayurveda or massage therapy, is actually a better idea economically. So that's just sort of my take on 200, 300, 500 hour. I think maybe there's even more after 500 hour, like you can, but I don't know. And then Justin asks, is the 200-hour training focused on different styles of yoga? As I said, I'll sort of say like, Ashtanga yoga dictates this. This is what I like and don't like. Anusara has this. This is what we like and don't like. But then I have a very clear methodology that I put forth. And again, the echoing theme of this training is that there's no one-size-fits-all approach. This stuff is complicated, right? Because everyone's body is unique. the scenario of who you're teaching in different circumstances is unique. So the goal is really to give you the biggest tool set possible to be an effective teacher and to effectively care for yourself. And we're not adhering to just one lineage. And there is the manual. This is the manual. And there's, worksheets for all the videos, summaries, notes of all the videos. And of course, there's every single pose broken down in the manual, which is all written by me. And I give you the cues that I say, the modifications for every pose. It's really, really, really deep. So Justin also asks, is it just beginning yoga basics or just the asanas so one can develop their own style of class? So again, in the training, I'm really empowering you. I'm offering up my sort of blended, uplifted methodology of the way I teach, because hopefully if you want to study with me, you like the way I teach. So I give you everything. I'm like, these are the exact cues I say. This is why I do things the way I do. If it's between, lengthen the spine and a stretch in the hamstrings, I prioritize lengthen the spine. I really break it all down for you. But ultimately, there's a lot of places where I tell you, it's like, this is a judgment call for you. And you get to walk out of this training deciding what you want to say, why you want to teach, but you'll know why, right? Like, I've given you all the information for kind of the pros and cons. And my goal is that everyone develops their own personal teaching style coming out of this training. And it's something we work on a lot. Part of the training is you develop your own personal meditation, signature meditation that you teach the group. So again, I'm giving you everything that I say and have and do, but the goal is for me to help empower you to create your own unique voice as a teacher, because that's what your students are going to resonate with. That's what the world needs, is people who are really unique and authentic, and speaking and teaching from their heart in a way that's completely unique. And you already are completely unique because there's no one else out there like you. So we're trying to just pull that out. Next question, is Facebook required for the teacher training? Is that the main mode of communication and sharing between other participants, or do you use different platforms for assignments? So those of you who are in Uplifted, all the videos are distributed sort of just like the Uplifted videos. So they'll just all be in a playlist that you can watch. And then every video has, there is some like additional reading and stuff, but every video has these worksheets that you fill out. I'm just trying to think of like a good worksheet page. Worksheets that you fill out as you watch the video. And then there's a place where it says notes and discussion for our live call. And then what happens is it's like you'll be assigned to watch 2 or 3 videos, 2 or 3 short videos, and then we'll discuss those videos and the homework in the live call together, which is another reason I think the training's awesome and unique, is because we're coming together as a community 3 times a week on these live calls. And you don't have to be at all 3, but people try to, they're really fun. So people try to be at all 3. And a lot of online learning, like even a course I was just thinking of purchasing that's really expensive, it's just like you just watch videos by yourself. And even if you fill out some stuff on a piece of paper, it's just, I don't know, it's not the same. Like with this, it's so fun because literally all your questions get answered basically the next day or within that week. You can watch the replay of all the live calls you missed. In fact, it's required that you watch the replay of the live calls that you miss. So we're constantly just going deeper as a group and answering questions and sharing reflections with one another. So you get so much value out of the interactivity piece of it. So we use VHX or the Uplifted app, VHX or the Uplifted app to watch the videos. You have the manual for the notes, and then I email the videos out and I send updates via email. And then there is a private Facebook group just for the yoga teacher trainees. So you can interact with your fellow yoga teacher trainees via email and on the live calls, because you guys just talk to one another and even host study groups without me. But the the bulk of other just little chit chat communication is happening in the Facebook group. So is Facebook required? No, because you'll get everything by email and you can watch the videos without Facebook. But I would say it's nice to be a part of the Facebook group to connect with your fellow students. Okay, the next question. Will there be an option to start the course early? This is from someone whose fall is a very busy time and she wants to start reading, reviewing assignments during the summer months. Will that be an option, or is it somewhat self-paced? Okay, great question. So there is part of me, we'll see. We've already had 2 people sign up. So assuming before I open it to the public, if it's okay with everyone who's signed up, I would be open to starting a little earlier in September or at the end of August or mid-August if other people were open to that before I launch publicly to the rest of the group. But right now the plan is to start September 18th. Can you start early? What you can do early is you can start plowing through the book list of all the required and recommended reading. And you can order your manual as soon as it's available, because obviously I want to revise and improve the manual each round. But it's not like you can watch all the videos ahead of time. And the reason for that is because I've put a ton of thought into how I drip and distribute this information to you guys. And we're talking about all of it together live. And the requirement is that you're live once a week. Yeah, Marcia, the calls are on Zoom. Exactly. The live calls are on Zoom, just like the uplifted calls. Sorry. When I read the comments, I lose my train of thought. We were talking about the starting early. So I've put a lot of thought into how these modules are designed. So what I don't want, and even within the training, I release material like 2 weeks out. So you always have access to 2 or 3 weeks out if you want to sort of skip ahead. But it's not like you get all 4 months worth of everything on day one, because I know you. And if you're like me, you'd just be like, watch. And you like wouldn't do the homework and you just like watch everything and like binge consume. And the reality is like, I've designed everything in a very particular way. The other really cool thing about training being online is that traditional yoga teacher trainings, and especially ones in studios, very much work where it's like, there'll be like a weekend where you do all yoga philosophy and it's like all the sutras and everything in one weekend. And then like Saturdays, like all day on a Saturday, you'll just look at backbending poses. And then there'll be like a, weekend where you do anatomy in like a 48-hour intensive. And that's because they're hiring teachers to come in and teach these different portions of the training. So it's like all the anatomy is done in bulk. All the looking at poses is done in bulk. All the philosophy is done in bulk, kind of in that format. What's so cool about the online training is that we don't have that restriction. And the guest teachers that I've brought in who are brilliant, all their stuff is pre-recorded. And what I did when I put together this syllabus is I was like, why don't we study the anatomy of like the shoulders and upper body, look at back bends and like the appropriate poses. Like I picked like 3 poses that I think really demonstrate that concept that we just learned in anatomy. And why don't we do our asana review of those poses, having just learned that anatomy. And then, say we're doing something about the low back or pelvic positioning, and that ties into some philosophy about Kundalini at the base of the spine. We'll talk about that at the same time. So instead of each call just being, or each week just being like anatomy or, kind of blocked off, I'm constantly interweaving everything, which I think is such a more fun way to learn, because it's like we get to learn the anatomy and then we get to look at bodies and then we get to talk about philosophy and everything's being tied together. And so that's why all the material is just not released 100% upfront to you, because I'm really guiding you through a specific order of things. And where we're at in the training right now, it's like we're shifting from focusing more on the body and the asana and the anatomy to going really deep with prana and the breath. Kia says, I'm in YTT now, but have not finished. Can I still book a spot in the bridge program? Yes, you can. I had someone else do that last year. So as long as you're on track to finish and will have your 200-hour degree to email into me at some point before the training ends, before my training ends, which would be in December or January of next year, that's totally fine. Okay, so you can start early doing all the required reading, but it's not like you can watch all the videos early on your own, just because the live component of us discussing things together is so crucial and what really makes this training special. So for whoever asked this question, I'm sorry, I can't remember, but fall is a busy time of year. I get it. It's like, it's always busy, but just make it to one live call a week, and you can always watch the replays in your car. I mean, don't watch them in your car if you're driving, but sometimes we're just talking about books or philosophy and stuff, and you can just listen. The anatomy ones, obviously you want to be, and the pose ones, you want to be actually watching the screen. Okay, so next question. I'm pretty nervous about leading a class, time management, developing classes, poses, which I think would be hard to learn online. Sequencing and looking at bodies, especially if you're in Uplifted and you've seen our live calls, that this all works. We're very, very focused on the body, doing body readings, looking at people's photos. There's a huge section on body reading and body reading from a fascial perspective in the training. There's a huge section on sequencing and how to sequence your classes. Another a big focus of this training is getting you out successfully teaching, if that's what you want to do. Meaning we're going over how to cue effectively, which is something my training never covered. I literally give you in the manual all the cues I say for every single pose in terms of how I talk to get people safely in and out of poses. I give you a sample timeline for different classes, a couple of my sequences for different levels written out. So again, I'm giving you everything. If you become part of the teacher training, it's like your family. I'm giving you everything I have that I can to help you succeed. I'm a bit hesitant about doing YTT online, this person writes. I can instantly see what the benefits are, but could you maybe talk on the not so positive aspects if there are any, frank view of the pros and cons? Pros, friends all over the world, being able to go back and review the material. It's a much more, especially, I think what the big con about online trainings usually are is that you don't get interactivity and you don't get feedback and there's no community feel. Because of Zoom and the live calls and the way this program runs with 3 live calls a week, it's like you're getting constant feedback, constant interaction. And I think it's the best way to learn. I'm biased, obviously, but I know for me as a teacher, I can give my best, and I think students can perform their best when you're doing your work an hour or maybe 2 a day. My issue with a lot of the traditional formats is it's an all weekend affair, every weekend, or it's a month-long intensive, and those are awesome. If you can do those and that vibe works, go for it. But I know as someone who runs trainings, and even when I talk to other teachers who run trainings, it's exhausting for both the teacher and the student to look at poses for 8 hours a day. On hour 8, on Sunday evening, people are tired. I just don't think it's that natural. So what I love about the online format is just the training's seamlessly integrated into your daily life. And I think that's a huge pro, because for that, 2 hours or hour that we're on 3 times a week, everyone is at their utmost attention and psyched to be there. And we're not slugging through material 8 hours in a row. But the con is we're not all in person, which the biggest con is just not being able to touch people. I think there's an incredible energetic connection between the group. We meditate together at the beginning of every single call. Different people take turns leading us through a meditation. So you guys all practice teach on the calls. You guys practice teach one another, looking at each other's photos, saying what you're seeing. for one another on the call, exactly same as what you do in a classroom. So to me, that's the only con. The only con is that you can't actually like touch the other participant. But I do have videos on hands-on adjustments, and a lot of times I'll just say, I'll be like, guys, if I were going to do a hands-on assist here, here's what I do. And I just like draw a stick figure in the photo that we're looking at, or I just show it on camera on myself. And usually it's pretty clear what's happening. I guess the other con would be like if you're looking for a local community, obviously, you know, this training is full of people from all over the world. So you're not going to make friends locally. And if you're doing a local training, I guess you could make more friends in your particular town. So it's a personal decision, but those are some pros and cons. And how do you address the issues related to an in-person practice training in an online environment? You know, we kind of already answered that. But last year going into this, you know, I didn't know. I was like, I have a vision for how this will work, but will it really work? You know, will it be as effective as I think? Will we connect as a group and be able to talk as deep about the postures as I think? And I didn't really know. Like doing this live stream now, going into the second round of training, like I'm so confident that you are going to understand and learn everything you need to know about the postures without being able to just physically be in the same room as me with the technology available and with Zoom, which again, if you're in Uplifted, you've experienced so interactive. I really just, it's awesome. And if it's helpful, in my 200 hour, and a lot of 200 hours, they actually don't teach hands-on assists at all. They save that for the 300 hour training. So you don't need to touch people to be an effective teacher. And even some studio trainings leave that till later just because it's sort of its own thing. And again, I have videos on it, but it's, you know, unfortunately something that we can't practice on one another unless we all come together in person. Okay, so getting more to some of the nitty-gritty questions. A lot of people ask questions about what does the payment plan look like? How does the payment plan work? Is an extended payment plan acceptable? So all the details for the, hey from Italy, Vanessa, that's awesome. I'm going to be in Italy this summer. So the payment plan info is now up on the link that's above my head. So you can very clearly see what they are, what the monthly payments are. There's a 6-month, a 3-month, and then there's a discount if you pay in full. If you need an extended payment plan, I'm completely open to that. So just email me directly and let me know if you'd need it to be longer than 6 months, what you'd need it to be. I could see us doing as long as 8 or 9 months, but would need to start it like now. So again, I'm happy to be flexible with people. So extended payment plans are fine. And how the payment plan works is basically you put in your deposit for training, which holds your spot and holds your rate, because there's like an earliest, early, and then regular price. So the slots just fill up as people sign up. And then once your deposit is in, you choose the payment plan that you want to do, either 3 months, 6 months, pay in full, or something else that you want to work out separately with me if you really, really need it. And then once you sign up for the payment plan, it's just, if you sign up on like tomorrow, which would be the 17th, I think, March 17th, the 17th of every month is when your payment would automatically debit or go through. Okay, all right, more juicy questions now. What is the job market like after YTT? Where could one teach with an online certificate? Next question, what are the benefits? What are the biggest benefits of the YA, Yoga Alliance, for you guys who don't know what that is, registration, and how much is it? Okay, so now we're getting into really juicy questions. The biggest thing to understand about yoga in the world and America is that yoga isn't regulated by the government at all. It's not like being a doctor. It's not like being a massage therapist, right? Massage therapy, to practice massage therapy, you need a license from your city where you live, and you need to go to a school that's approved that will help you obtain that license. Very, very important. It's governed by the local and federal, but it's governed. It's part, there's laws around it. Things like yoga or Reiki or Qigong, or bar method, actually, because I used to teach bar method. All of these things aren't governed by local laws or the government. They just exist, and all the certifications are just private. Now, that being said, there are like independent institutions that have developed that try to enforce standards. So anytime the government is not involved, different, like there's not a bar method one yet, and I'm sure there's like an international registry of Qigong maybe. But the Yoga Alliance is the biggest nonprofit entity that has developed around yoga credentialing, I guess you could say. There's also a Yoga Alliance of Canada, of India, and there's about like 60 other smaller alliances that you can pay to be a part of. However, you need to understand that this is optional. Like you don't, again, it's not required by local or state law. So you don't need to register with Yoga Alliance or any registry unless you proactively want to for some reason in order to practice and teach yoga. So the most important thing is to get insurance, to know what you're doing so you don't hurt people, and to have insurance. And in terms of getting jobs, insurance is the only thing I've ever been asked for, ever, as a teacher. People want to know, do I have insurance? And you send them your insurance document and then you can teach. That has been my experience 100% of the time. And I've taught at every studio I've ever wanted to teach at. I've taught at Google. I've taught at Pinterest. I've taught at Equinox, right? And a lot of times like those bigger companies will also have their own insurance, but they also like you to have your own as well. So, and the average cost of insurance is around, great question, Stephanie, it's like $100 or $150 a year. So it's totally manageable. And in the training, there is a module at the very end about how to get insurance. And I set you up and walk you through how to do it at the exact same place that I get my insurance. So that's the most important thing to know, just to sort of about like getting a job and whatnot. So what's the biggest benefit of Yoga Alliance registration and how much is it? It's a totally personal decision if you want to register with Yoga Alliance. However, Yoga Alliance in one of their mandates says that you need to have 180 hours of contact in your yoga teacher training. And they don't define distance learning as contact. So if you 100% want to register with Yoga Alliance, you need to do a local training. Or you need to set it up so you can do those hours with me in person. So Yoga Alliance just sent an email, actually, this is like breaking news, last week saying that they're going to reduce the number of hours required for in-person. They call it contact hours, which is confusing because we do like 100 contact hours in this training. It's just on Zoom, it's not in person. But they define contact as in person. So they have just announced that they're going to reduce the number of contact hours. So hopefully, and 5 years from now, it'll be like nothing, right? Like the online education is the new norm. That genie is not going back in the bottle. So, we're at the forefront of all of this. There's like 5 years from now, every big teacher out there is going to have an online training. So Yoga Alliance is going to change along with it. But the other really important thing to know about Yoga Alliance is that they adhere to a social credentialing model. What social credentialing model means is that they don't actively enforce or check any of these rules that they state out. So anyone who pays can basically do the Yoga Alliance registration. Any school that pays can be a registered school. It's not like they look at my curriculum or it's really just like self-reporting to YA, and it's all the honor system. So under the honor system, we need in-person hours if you want to go ahead and register with them. So that's the deal with that. And the cost, I think it's $100 to register the first time, and then it's $50 or $60 every year after that. And what you're actually paying for is for the ability to use the ERYT, because Yoga Alliance, very smart, trademarked the RYT symbol, registered yoga teacher. So they trademarked that, and if you don't pay Yoga Alliance and you call yourself a RYT, technically you're infringing on their trademark. Now, that being said, I'd never put RYT after my name. Like, it doesn't matter. But again, that's really the only benefit, is that you are part of their online directory and that you can call yourself an RYT printed on paper using their trademark. Julie, are there CEU classes credits that need to be filled every year? Yeah, if you do join Yoga Alliance, there are continuing education credits that I think you're supposed to do 30 a year. And if you're in the Bridge program, it can count towards those. So you can get credit for them. But again, it's all self-reported and it's all not monitored. So I know people who just type in that they did it and, they're done for the year. So obviously don't do that. It's good to abide by the honor system. But technically, yes, you're supposed to do continuing education every year. Okay. So after completion, what is the job market like? Searching for jobs through previous established studios. What is the starting wage for a brand new instructor? Does it pay per hour or per class, per client? Okay. Let's talk about some of these things, and then we'll talk about the option to do add-on in person with me. So my biggest advice for any of you considering yoga as a career is to transition slowly, right? I think if you're in this mindset where you're like, oh, I'm going to do yoga teacher training, and then, either by registering with some alliance or by just sending my resume out to a bunch of studios, I'm going to get a job and support myself full-time teaching yoga. Like, that is just not reality, right? First of all, yoga teachers don't earn very much money in studios. You earn between $3 and $5 a head if it's like the place paying by head, or you earn between $30 and $50 a class, depending where you're teaching. And keep in mind, it's very hard to fill a schedule where you're teaching a class, Monday at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 p.m., right? Like, usually it's a very sporadic sort of casual schedule. So if you're looking to make a full-time income, the studio world is not going to cut it for you. And I have some very specific ideas and tips that I can share in the training about friends of mine who I've given advice to who have been able to make studio full-time work. And there's a very specific strategy to pursue there. But what you're really going to want to do is start building your own brand and your business, and either open your own studio, start teaching online, start teaching privates, or start teaching corporates. Those are all the places where you're really going to start seeing real income. Retreats is another place as well. But all of that is dependent on you building your brand and having confidence to put yourself out there. So that's what I'm very focused on helping you do in the training, especially towards the very end of it, helping you find your own unique voice, helping you find perhaps a niche, and that's where blending yoga with something else you're passionate about, like yoga in journaling, or yoga in Ayurveda, or yoga in acupuncture, or yoga in nutrition, or yoga in fascia, I think is a lot more interesting than just trying to make it 100% as a yoga teacher, or yoga and bodywork professional, right? All of those things go really, really well together. And you're going to want to make the transition slowly, right? The way that you're going to get your first studio job, again, I have a whole part at the end of the training, which is all about how to approach studio owners. But it's going to be like any other industry out there in the world. Yoga is the same. It is about networking. It is about persistence. It is about confidence. No one is going to hand you a teaching job, right? You are going to need to think like an entrepreneur and realize that in becoming a yoga teacher, if it's what you want to do full time, that you are also becoming a business owner. And that means that as much as you want to give and be as soft as you can, you are going to need to have very firm boundaries and be able to look out and protect yourself and put on that analytical hat as well. So if you're thinking of pursuing yoga as a career, that's awesome. It's the best career ever. but you're going to want to give yourself some buffer time. Like I wouldn't say, I think it would be irresponsible unless you are in a position to do so, to just like be like, I can quit my job and just be full-time on yoga right away. You want to make that transition slowly and wisely, and I can talk a ton about that, and I will in the training. But I was in a between where I was doing yoga and a full-time job, teaching yoga and teaching full-time for about 3 years, and I took a ton of time with that transition. And I also did massage school, and I also did a lot of other things. And I also was teaching bar method. So I think, having an open mind about how you can work with people, how you can help people, and then obviously getting private clients and corporates, which pay so much better than studios, and building your brand online, if you're interested in that. And there's modules in the training about how to like run your Instagram and how to set up a very, very basic website, start collecting email addresses, sort of, all the stuff I also really love and am passionate, which is all the entrepreneurial tech side of things. I share all of that with you in this training. You are never going to get that in a studio training, ever. Like that will not even come up. I'm in doing the training, you're getting all the business experience that I've been through building what's now my full-time business from nothing to, basically making more income than my husband, or than I did working in corporate full-time at a very high level. I'm an open book. Like I will share everything with you about how that happened. Okay. The next question was, what would a non-for-profit teacher studio look like? I'm not sure, but setting up as a non-for-profit is a great idea. You'd need to talk to a lawyer or an accountant, but a lot of what you do as a yoga teacher is figure out how you can live your life as a tax deduction, right? And there's a lot of deductions involved, which is cool. So, you need to talk to a lawyer or accountant about that. Okay, so then we had some questions. What is the cost of the Uplifted Weekend? Can we participate this independently from the YTT? Where and when does it take place? So if you want to study with me in person for contact hours, my vision is that I'm going to have a week-long in-person training in California and New York, and that it will happen in February of 2018 and August of 2018, and potentially one in Europe as well in July of 2018. And that the week-long is just for YTT people, and the cost of that would be $1,650, give or take. And just for people who've graduated from the online program who want additional in-person contact hours. Or you can just come for the Uplifted Weekend. And if you are an Uplifted member, you can come for the Uplifted Weekend. And again, I don't know, but I imagine the cost would be around $600 or $700 for the weekend. And it's like a 3-day weekend. And then if you're coming as a YTT person, because the thing with the Uplifted Weekend that I wanted to build in there was the opportunity for those of you who want to see how I film with my cameraman, have me kind of produce a video for you and take your headshots and sort of get you all that professional stuff you need to sort of launch, that would be an additional day to the Uplifted Weekend. So it would be a little bit more expensive because we'd be pulling all the people and staff together to do that with you. But the idea is for February, Bay Area, San Francisco area, and August in New York area, and July in Europe. But again, based on the group and what people tell me they want, like for this yoga teacher training, we're not having like an official Uplifted Weekend because it was the first time, so it just wasn't organized that way. But we are doing in-person practicum meetups. So we have one in LA and one in New York, and I literally just designed the dates based on what the group told me was best for them. I was like, here are the 3 weekends I can be in New York, like what's best for you guys? And the group just votes, and we did it that way. Some of these in-person practicums are happening in studios, yoga studios. Some of them are happening at YouTube on set, which is pretty cool, at the YouTube space in LA or New York. So that's sort of the plan. If you live in California or New York, I'd say you can pretty much bank on the fact that you'll get a chance to do in-person contact hours with me if that's something you really want to do. But again, if contact and doing stuff in person is the most important thing to you, more important than anything else, then this maybe isn't the best training or best fit for you, because this is an online training. And of course, I think there's huge value in meeting up in person. Like, I would do anything to teleport our current YTT group like into my home studio right now for like a meditation circle, because it would be so powerful and so amazing. But again, what's unique about this training is that you get to do it at home during your daily life, which means people with full-time jobs can do it, people who have kids can do it, people who are in the military and the Peace Corps like we have in our current YTT can do it, people who are living abroad in Japan can do it. We have someone who's in that situation. So it's just very blended and integrated into your daily life. And I think that's amazing. I think it's special. And I think it's the best way to learn, 100%. And again, I couldn't have said that with such confidence the last time around, but having been through the program now once with the most amazing group of people, like, I can say that from the bottom of my heart, 1,000%. Like, I think you'll get everything you'd get out of an in-person training and more in this. And then if you choose to do like an extra weekend or week with me, anything that you weren't sure about that requires us touching one another, and I love to touch people and do modifications and adjustments like that, you can just do that in addition. Or, just supplement your education with some additional workshops or things locally that are like more hands-on based. So that is all the questions that got emailed in. Let me know if there's any last questions on the chat. Otherwise, I will shut this party down. Registration is open as of midnight last night. 2 of the early spots are already gone from before getting on this call. So if you have additional questions, get them answered if you want that discount and to, just commit early. And of course, you can always wait and decide later. That's fine. If you haven't checked out the syllabus, there's a downloadable sample syllabus on the website. And what else? Oh, and I'm going to put up some example videos for you a little bit later today, and I will email those out. Hopefully you can see my screen, maybe. But this is the page. If you guys haven't seen it, I actually meant to sort of go over all of this with you. But there's videos on here. And again, I will email out some sample videos along with this call replay for all of you if you want to just take a look at what some of the videos look like in the training. Definitely get the syllabus emailed to you if you haven't, so you can check out what that looks like. And again, if you're in Uplifted, we have people who are in, and here's all the payment plan details that are now up there. So if you are in Uplifted, we have people who are in the training right now. So you can reach out to them or you can PM me and try to get connected with them, because I'm sure they'd be happy to answer questions and sort of talk to you about what their experience has been like thus far, and sort of like open book share with you what their experience has been. So like Alexis, who was here for a second, Stephanie, who was here or maybe is still here, Celine. There's a couple of people in the Uplifted group who will like happily chat to you. So just let me know. And again, I talked a lot about career and business stuff at the end of this training, because a lot of you asked that, which is smart because yoga teacher training is an investment. So you do want to ask those things. However, you can just do this training to deepen your practice and sort of use it as like an incredible, powerful group. I don't want to say group therapy because it's not group therapy, but just a really empowering way to take charge of your own personal practice, go deeper into yoga philosophy, go deeper into fascia and the philosophy behind fascia, which we're about to do, go deeper into pranayama and breathing techniques. Like, this isn't about everyone graduating and becoming a teacher. It's really just about you getting more connected to yourself, being more patient, and going through your life with more grace and clarity. Like, ultimately, that's what yoga teacher training really provides you with. That's what it's been for me. It's been a huge gift when I did my training, and now the bigger gift has been leading this training with the incredible, incredible group that I have right now. It's been the biggest honor. So Oh, awesome, Amanda. I'm so glad you're liking 18 days of yoga. All right, I'm going to sign off. Send additional questions that I didn't answer my way through Facebook or email. And I hope you guys have a great day, and this was informative for you and hopefully answered some of the things you were maybe worried about. All right, so much love, you guys. Whew. From my heart to yours. Namaste.